It takes 7 minutes, that's all. 7 minutes between the moment a school bus driver calls 911 from a dark stretch of New Hampshire highway and the moment a police officer arrives to find an empty car, its windshield spidered with cracks, the driver's side airbags deployed. The engine is cold, a rag is stuffed into the tailpipe, and the young woman who was standing here moments ago, the one who told the bus driver she'd already called for help, is gone. No footprints in the snow, no trail into the woods. Just silence and a car that shouldn't be here. Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire is the kind of road where the trees crowd the pavement like they're trying to take it back. In February, it's a corridor of black ice and frozen silence. The nearest town is miles in either direction. There are no streetlights, no sidewalks. If you leave the road here in either direction, you walk into wilderness. This is the road where Maura Murray vanished. And to understand how she ended up here, alone on a Monday night in the dead of winter, we need to go back.
Maura Murray is 21 years old. She's a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, a former track star at West Point before she transferred. People describe her as driven, athletic, private. She comes from a tight-knit family in Hanson, Massachusetts. Her father, Fred, is a constant presence in her life. She has a boyfriend, Bill Roush, who's stationed at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. On the surface, Maura's life looks like any other college senior counting down the weeks to graduation. But beneath that surface, things have started to crack. In the days before she disappears, Maura's behavior turns erratic. On Thursday, February 5th, she's working a security shift at her dorm when she receives a phone call. Whatever is said on that call leaves her catatonic. Her supervisor finds her unresponsive, staring at the wall. She's escorted back to her room. On Saturday night, she borrows her father's new car, a Toyota Corolla, and crashes it into a guardrail. No injuries, but the car is totaled. Fred Murray is remarkably understanding. He spends Sunday with Maura shopping for a new car. Everything seems fine. It isn't. On Monday, February 9th, 2004, Maura searches MapQuest for directions to the Berkshires and Burlington, Vermont. She emails her professors saying she'll be out for the week due to a death in the family. There has been no death in the family. She packs her belongings, clothes, textbooks, toiletries, into her Saturn sedan. She withdraws $280 from an ATM. She buys $40 worth of alcohol, Kahlua, Bailey's, and a box of Franzia wine. Then she drives north, alone. Nobody knows exactly what route Maura takes or why she ends up on Route 112 instead of heading toward the Berkshires. The GPS data doesn't exist. It's 2004, and Maura doesn't have a smartphone. What we know is that she drives for roughly 3 hours through the New Hampshire winter. The sun sets around 5 p.m. By the time she reaches the sharp curve at the weathered barn corner on Route 112, it's after 7 p.m. It's dark. It's cold. The road is icy. And something goes wrong.
It's 7:27 p.m. Maura's black 1996 Saturn sedan strikes something, possibly a snowbank, possibly a tree, at the sharp bend in the road near the weathered barn. The impact is severe enough to deploy the airbags and crack the windshield. The car comes to rest facing the wrong direction, its nose against a snowbank on the shoulder. The collision is loud. Butch Atwood, a school bus driver who lives nearby, sees the wreck from his home as he's pulling in from his route. He drives his bus over to check on the driver.
I'm here now.
Atwood pulls up to the Saturn and sees a young woman behind the wheel. She's shaken, but coherent. He asks if she's okay, if she needs help. Maura tells him she's fine. She says she's already called AAA. Atwood isn't convinced. The damage looks bad, the airbags are out, and she's alone on a freezing road. But Maura insists. She doesn't want help. Atwood drives his bus back to his house, about 100 yards away. He goes inside and calls 911 himself. He knows something isn't right. He doesn't know he's the last known person to see Maura Murray alive. Haverhill Police Sergeant Cecil Smith arrives at the scene at 7:46 p.m., roughly 7 to 9 minutes after the crash was reported. The Saturn is still there. The windshield is cracked. The airbags are deflated. A rag has been shoved into the tailpipe, an old trick to stop a car from smoking. The driver's door is locked. Maura's personal belongings are still inside. Her cell phone, her packed boxes, the alcohol she purchased earlier. But Maura is not in the car. She is not on the road. She is not in any neighboring yard. She is simply gone. Smith calls for backup and begins checking the area. He knocks on doors. Another officer brings a K9 unit. The police dog picks up a scent trail leading east from the crash site, about 100 yards up the road. And then the scent vanishes. Gone. As if Maura stepped off the pavement and evaporated. Officers search the immediate area, but it's dark, it's freezing, and the woods are dense. They find nothing. No tracks in the snow. No clothing. No sign that anyone walked into that forest. The temperature is dropping. Wherever Maura is, she's been out here for less than an hour, and it's well below freezing.
The initial response is handled as an accident scene with a walkaway driver, not a missing persons case. This matters. It takes time, some say too long, before the search escalates. Fred Murray learns his daughter is missing the next day and immediately drives to New Hampshire. He's frantic. He knows Maura wouldn't just walk away into the woods. He knows something is wrong. The local police, working with limited resources, begin canvassing the area and questioning neighbors along Route 112. The houses near the crash site tell a fragmented story. Butch Atwood, the bus driver, gives his account. Other neighbors report seeing the accident, but not the aftermath. One detail becomes significant. A neighbor reports seeing a car, possibly an SUV, nose to nose with Maura's Saturn around the time of the crash. Is this Atwood's bus? Someone else entirely? The witness accounts don't quite align, and as days pass, memories shift. The police canvass widens, but the window for finding fresh evidence is closing fast. Investigators process Maura's Saturn and find a scene that raises more questions than it answers. Inside, her packed belongings, the alcohol, her cell phone, her AAA card. She clearly didn't call AAA. That was a lie told to Atwood. A printout of MapQuest directions to Burlington, Vermont sits on the dashboard. And there's something else. A book. Not Without Peril. A collection of stories about people who died in the White Mountains. Why this book? Was it for a class? Was it for pleasure? Or was it something more deliberate? The police also find that Maura's email to her professors about a family death was fabricated. She planned to be gone. She planned it that morning. Maura's cell phone activity on February 9th is limited, but revealing. She makes calls related to booking accommodations, condos or hotels in the White Mountains area. Her last outgoing call is placed before the crash. After the crash, the phone goes silent. No outgoing calls, no texts. The cell tower data shows no movement of the phone after the accident, because the phone stayed in the car. If Maura left voluntarily, she left without her lifeline. Bill Rausch, Maura's boyfriend, stationed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, receives a voicemail from Maura earlier that evening. She says she loves him, that she'll call later. She doesn't. When Bill can't reach her Tuesday morning, he starts calling hospitals and police departments. He arrives in New Hampshire within days and actively joins the search. The relationship, by most accounts, was long distance and strained. Maura had recently been involved with another man on campus. The question of what role, if any, relationship stress played in her decision to drive north remains open.
The simplest explanation. Maura crashes her car. She's been drinking. The open bottle of alcohol in the car suggests she may have been impaired. She's already in trouble. A previous DUI, her father's car totaled 2 days earlier. She can't face another encounter with police. So she runs into the woods, in February, in New Hampshire, at night, with no proper clothing for the conditions. Hypothermia can set in within an hour. The White Mountain National Forest is vast, dense, and unforgiving. A body could lie undiscovered for years, decades even. Extensive searches have been conducted. Dogs, helicopters, ground teams, nothing. But the forest keeps its secrets well. But there are problems with this theory. The canine unit tracked Maura's scent east from the crash site, not into the woods, but along the road. The scent disappeared about 100 yards away. Dogs don't typically lose a scent trail in the middle of a road unless the person got into a vehicle. And the snow. Fresh snow lined the roadside. No one reported seeing footprints leading into the tree line. If Maura ran into the wilderness, she did it without leaving a single track. Possible if she stuck to the plowed road, but then where did she go? The nearest shelter is miles away, and nobody saw her walking. The canine evidence points here. Maura walks east along Route 112, maybe 100 yards, and gets into a vehicle. The scent vanishes because she leaves the ground. The question is, whose vehicle? There are two versions of this theory. One, a passing motorist, a stranger, offers a ride and Maura accepts, willingly or otherwise. Two, someone she knew was meeting her or followed her and picked her up at the crash site. Both versions require accepting that a vehicle passed through in those 7 minutes without being seen by the neighbors who were watching the crash scene. It's a narrow window, but it only takes one car. Some investigators and armchair detectives have floated the tandem driver theory, the idea that Maura wasn't alone on that drive. Someone was following her in a second vehicle or waiting for her at a meeting point along Route 112. When she crashes, the second driver pulls up and she gets in. This would explain the witness who reported seeing a car nose to nose with the Saturn. It would explain the vanishing scent trail. It would explain why she told Atwood she was fine. She knew someone was coming. But who? No second person has ever come forward, and no evidence directly supports this theory. It's elegant. It's also unproven. Route 112 isn't deserted. Houses dot the road, and locals drive it regularly. Some investigators have looked at residents along that stretch of highway. In a small community, a stranger, a young woman, alone, vulnerable after a car crash, would be noticed. The theory posits that someone local saw an opportunity and acted on it. A vulnerable young woman on a freezing road, no phone, no ride, no witnesses. The 7-minute window is enough for someone who knows the area intimately, enough to stop, offer help, and drive away before the police arrive. Criticism of the initial police response is widespread, and, by many accounts, justified. Treating the scene as a simple accident rather than a missing person case cost precious time. Some witnesses report they weren't interviewed for days. The crime scene, if it was a crime scene, wasn't secured in those critical first hours. Fred Murray has publicly clashed with local law enforcement, accusing them of mishandling the investigation from the start. Whether the police response would have changed the outcome is unknowable, but the delays created gaps in the evidence that have never been filled. Consider the evidence. She lied to her professors about a death in the family. She packed her car with her belongings. She withdrew cash. She researched directions to remote areas. She left without telling anyone where she was going. Every action on February 9th looks like someone building an exit. What if the crash wasn't part of the plan, but the plan still succeeded? What if Maura walked away from the wreck and kept going? Not into the woods to die, but into a new life. It's a theory that offers hope. But in over 20 years, Maura Murray has never been found. Not alive, not dead. Not using her social security number, not surfacing on any database anywhere.
Vanishing completely in the modern world is nearly impossible. Nearly. Slow down. The emotional weight is here. Fred Murray's persistence should linger. Maura's family has never accepted the suicide or voluntary disappearance theories. Fred Murray has spent decades searching for his daughter, filing lawsuits to obtain police records and pushing for new leads. The family believes foul play is the most likely explanation. They point to the scent trail ending on the road, the narrow 7-minute window, and the complete absence of any physical evidence in the surrounding forest. Someone took Maura. The family has never stopped looking. Maura Murray's case became one of the first true crime stories to explode in the podcast era. Shows, documentaries, Reddit communities, and amateur investigators have dissected every detail: the phone calls, the email, the rag in the tailpipe, the book about mountain deaths. A television series brought the case to millions of new viewers. The attention has been both a blessing and a curse. It's kept the case alive and generated new tips, but it's also spawned wild speculation, harassment of people connected to the case, and a circus atmosphere that sometimes obscures the central fact: a real young woman is still missing. Despite the attention, despite decades of searching, no definitive physical evidence has ever been found. No remains, no clothing, no DNA match on an unidentified body. The New Hampshire Cold Case Unit continues to classify Maura's disappearance as open and active. Periodic searches of the surrounding wilderness have turned up nothing. Leads have been pursued and exhausted. Tips come in. They always do in cases this prominent, but none have broken the case open. The 7-minute window on Route 112 remains the last known chapter of Maura Murray's life. Fred Murray has never stopped. For over 20 years, he has driven to New Hampshire, searched the woods, challenged law enforcement, given interviews, and refused to let his daughter become a cold statistic. His persistence has kept the case in public consciousness long past the point where most missing persons cases fade from the news. He doesn't want theories. He doesn't want podcasts. He wants to find his daughter. And every year that passes makes that harder, but not.
The stretch of Route 112 where Maura crashed looks much the same as it did in 2004. The trees still crowd the pavement. The curve is still sharp. In winter, the road still freezes. If you drive it at night, you understand how isolated it is, how quickly the darkness swallows everything beyond your headlights. People still stop at the crash site. Some leave flowers, some leave notes. The road doesn't answer. 22 years. That's how long Maura Murray has been missing. She would be in her early 40s now. She might have children. She might have gray in her hair. She might be nowhere at all. The theories persist: the woods, the car, the new life, the stranger on the road, because the evidence supports all of them and confirms none of them. That's the thing about a disappearance with no resolution. It doesn't end, it just echoes. Maura Murray drove into the New Hampshire night, and the night never gave her back. Somewhere, the answer exists. Someone knows. The question is whether anyone is listening.